Hi everybody and welcome to the second episode of Made with Mosca. This is the second and last as well episode, introduction episode, in which we are going to talk about the different type of planes we can use in hand toolery and we are going to use into our project. Starting on my left, we have three kind of bench planes. We have a Japanese one, very cheap, a standard Stanley one, number 3, and a low angle. I have already made a video about the difference between a low angle plane and the standard one. I leave the link in the box. By the way, in this project we are going to see me using a lot this plane, the low angle one, especially in shooting board activity and finishing activity. Then we have two block planes and a bullnose plane. Let's start with the standard block plane. This is a very cheap block plane. I don't know if it's low angle or not. By the way, it's very cheap. I tuned it up and it works quite well. The beautiful thing about this plane is the adjustable mouth. Here we have a block rabbet plane. This has open sides and it allows to clear rabbet in the wood. And this is a small bullnose, which is very similar to this, with the exception of the dimension. Of course, this is smaller and the blade is next to the point of the blade, and you can easily clean the rabbets you are going to create. Then we have two types of bluff plane. We have a big Stanley 1350, which is from the late 80s, and it comes with 15 or 18 blades, and it allows to make thinner and bigger rabbets or potatoes. Here we have a record 43, which allows to make easily rabbets with small dimensions, so thinner rabbet, and this is very handy, very easy to adjust, while this is, heavier and a little bit complicated, but they are two great type of planes with which you can make a rabbet and dados. Last we have the rotor plane. Here we have two Veritas. We have a small one and a bigger one. The small one is very handy to clean the rabbet or the dado, the grooves you created. And this one is great for cleaning grooves, dado or rabbet, but also to clean the shoulder of tenons and stuff like this. Okay, after this general overview of the planes we can use in hand toolery, let's dive into our project. So what kind of planes we're going to use in our project? Well, first of all, you will see me using a low angle plane with a 25 degrees angle blade in the shooting board and with a 38 degrees blade in the finishing action. Please consider the fact that we are going to use pre-dimensioned lumber at the beginning, so take this in mind. After that, we are going to use for sure a bluff plane, one or two, it depends, but for sure one of them we are going to use to create the groove for the sliding door and for the back panel. And we are going also to utilize the rotor planes to clean the grooves both for the back and the sliding door, then also for cleaning the tenons for the creation of the door frame. Last but not least, please keep in mind that I think that you need also a one-hand block plane to create the final Kumiko. If you don't have a block plane, it's fine, you can also rely on a good chisel. And the same is for the router plane and the bluff plane. If you don't have one, you can always rely on hand chisel, or to make this project you can also use some electric tools. Okay, as we made in the previous video, now we're going to show some jigs that will be very helpful during the planning action. Here I have 3 jigs that can be used in the preliminary phase, and 2 shooting boards that are more useful in the final part of preparing the stock. Now we are going to show how they works and how they can be used during our project. Okay, let's suppose that we need to bring to a certain thickness and to squareness this piece of wood with an end plane. How can I do? For sure I can use the dogs in the dog's hole in my bench, but I think that a better way is to ensure this jig to the vise. In this way I can work on the face and on the side of the piece, even if for the side maybe it's better to assure it on the vise. By the way, for the face I just put against here and I go to work. Okay. Let's try also with the side. Easy. Okay, now let's pretend that we have a huge panel to plane. I don't have one, so just pretend that this is a wet panel that does not fit our jig. How can we make? We created this very easy jig to screw, okay, like a T. You can put both in a vise or against the dog. You put the piece against it and you just operate in the same manner. Okay, both the face and the side. What if we have a thin piece of wood to plane? Well, the first 2 jigs we saw works great on thicker pieces, but if we have a thinner piece, we need to create something like a bench hook in which the fence is very, very low. So we just attach with 2 screws. It has a hook you can put against it, against the workbench, put the piece against the fence and start planing. In this case, we are able to plane the piece easily, and it's also very helpful if you have to cross-cut something with an handsaw, both for Japanese and the Western style saw. Here is the Japanese, and here for the Western style saw. Now we need to cross cut and create a different length. I already shown in the previous video the way we are going to cross cut during the build of the project with this miter box attached to the shooting board. As I mentioned before, even if this is dead accurate, it's always better to pass the piece in the shooting board. What is a shooting board? A shooting board is, let's say, the remaining part of the jig, and it's two pieces of plywood and a fence. The fence is 90 degrees to the blade of the plane, and in this case I've also created attached this lateral fence for the blade. We just attach the piece to the main fence, and as long as this piece, as the board, the fence is 90 degrees to the plane, we are sure that everything that we're going to plane is 90 degrees. An important addition that we can make to this shooting board is the 45 miter. So let's pretend that this is cut to 45 and this is a frame. We just attach this with the screw, put here, and we're going to adjust with the plane in the same way as the 90 degrees to obtain a perfect 45 degrees angle. The last jig that I'd like to show you is this miter jig. So it has one piece of plywood as base and two pieces of plywood, both cut to 45 degrees, and they create a groove. In this groove we let the plane run, and we are going to obtain a 45 degree angle all along the piece, as you can see here. This is a great jig to adjust the pieces when we are going to build a box with a miter corner. Very useful. We are not going to use this in the project, but keep in mind that if you're going to make some boxes, this is a must-have jig. The first two preliminary episodes are finished. What I'd like you bring home from these two first episodes? Well, I'd like that you understand the fact that in the same way that we are going to create a jig for our table saw, we need to create jigs for our end planing or end sewing, because very often the freehand is not as accurate as we can be with the jig. I know that we cover a lot of topic, and with a lot of them we don't dive into. So if you have any question, please ask in the comment section, and in the next episode we are going to actually begin the build of our little cabinet. So, ciao a tutti and see you soon.